About 19 minutes to the top of the hour. Welcome back to the Morning Drill. It's a Thursday morning as we take care of business. Deb Eckelberger joins us this morning. Good morning, Deb. How are you?
Good, Luke. How about you?
Wonderful. Good to see you this morning.
It's a little warmer today than yesterday.
Not much, but it's just a little.
It's going to be sunny. The sun was shining on my way here, so that was good.
Well, good. All right. Taking care of business this morning. Who did you bring in with you?
Well, we brought Bill Weider. He is the owner of Comic Books 101 here on Spring Street in downtown lovely Titusville. So he has some unique items to share with you today and a really interesting story about his multiple stores. So we welcome Bill today.
Morning, Bill. How are you?
Good morning, Luke. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good.
Listen, and not to throw Deb under the bus here, but comic books are really big right now. They're big in the TV world. They're big in the movie world. And Deb's like, oh, there's a Walking Dead comic book, just like the show.
I can pull it
well,
out.
Deb, that's where the show came from, the comic books.
Yeah.
Started right here.
Started right there.
I know. It's cool. Well, I'm a fan, so.
Well, and
now
you know, not to
buy
mention all the superhero movies out right now, but I think also on AMC they just launched a new show, Preacher, which is also from
It's a
the
comic
comics.
book, correct?
Yeah.
I saw the previews for that. That looked interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Batman Superman movie that came out in April. Of course, Batman Superman comic books. Avengers, Iron Man. There's the Suicide Squad coming out later on this summer. I have all those comic books that all started at the comic book store. Yeah.
So when you see shows on TV and movies out, does that mean good business for you?
It does. It really, it's all free advertising when you think about it. There's like Gotham, the Batman show on Fox. It's all free advertising. It just gets ingrained in people. People love the stories, and then like, oh, there's comic books, and they want to come in and read the stories.
And a lot of those stories are based off of the comic books.
Yeah, right.
So, Bill, let's before we talk about your business, let's learn a little bit about you. Tell us when you first fell in love with comic books.
Oh, okay. Actually, in 8th grade in 1974 at junior high school, I found a Mad magazine in a garbage can. Okay,
Attaboy.
So this is the respect comic books had in back in the day. I'm sure that the teacher probably ripped it from somebody and threw it. Well, anyway, I fished this book out. It was a Mad magazine, and I started reading it. And I love this. I mean, this is really cool stuff. And I'm like, where can I get more of this? So at the time in the 70s, you had to get your comic books at a newsstand. So I went to the newsstand and I got the newest Mad, and there's another one coming out next month. So I just kind of got the collector bug then. And then it kind of branched out into comic books. I wanted to get back issues of Mads. I loved Mad so much. So I remembered comic books had ads in them for back issue dealers. So I would send away for back issue dealer catalogs, and I would order back issues of Mad. And then I kind of grew into the comic books. I just love the comic books.
Do you still have those Mad magazines?
I do.
Do you? Good for you.
Oh, yeah.
How bad is it? I went from highlights for children to Mad magazine.
Mad actually was a comic book in the 50s, and by the issue 24, there was a lot of people against comic books, so they kind of converted to a magazine. So, like, I have almost every Mad from 1955 up to the present.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. So, and actually, that's where I get all my knowledge from history from. I mean, there's all the satires. There was Elvis and the Beatles. There's Nixon. I mean, I know all my history from Mad magazine.
I remember the one they did on Spiro Agnew. It just really ripped them hard.
I always like the Spy versus Spy.
Yes, that was good.
So do you still, do you look at your collection and go, boy, I'm missing this one. I'll see if somebody else has it out there.
True, and that's what it is. It's like you're missing one. Collectors just have to complete the collection.
So you started getting into other comics.
Yeah.
During that time. So what other comics were you taking an interest in?
I just started into the Superman and Spider-Man, and it snowballed, really big.
So as a professional, I need to ask you, Batman versus Superman, who would win that?
That's like asking who's going to be the next president. I don't know. You know what I mean? Is it going to be Hillary or somebody else? I don't know. I always like Superman, so I mean, he's strong.
Yeah.
Physically, maybe Batman might be mentally. So,
Is it a toss up between folks who like DC Comics and those who like the Marvel series?
There's like a group of people like Marvel and DC, just like there's Coca-Cola people and there's Pepsi people, and
Wow.
I just love it all though.
So do you find that most of the people coming in the shop embrace them all, or are they more for one or the other?
Everybody just zeroes in on their area. In my store, I do have like a section for, and actually I can show you some of these comics. I have like young reader comic books. Here, like Donald Duck. You know, I mean, this is for all ages. Actually, adults like this too. Of course, My Little Pony, and we have SpongeBob. And also there's an updated version of Archie too. It's kind of a more...
cool. That was a cartoon.
Yeah, it was a cartoon. So, and to answer your question, I mean, there's just, everybody likes their own thing, you know.
So what would you say are the top 3 or 4 series right now that people are coming in wanting to buy?
Really, the biggest seller right now is like DC Comics has just kind of rebooted their whole universe. This is called DC Rebirth #1, and it's just kind of like the past years, the DC's kind of doing a correction in the way they've done things. Their books have been kind of dark, so they're kind of just going back to the way they used to be. So if you want to get back into DC, this is the time to do it. And there's all new #1 issues here: Superman #1. Rebirth, Batman #1. They're just rebooting everything, so it's a
look
good.
at the artwork on those.
Yeah, I mean
those are incredible. Do you get those in and go, wow, they're really turning it up a few notches?
Yep. It's hard to count the comic books on New Comic Book Day because it's
Now, are you the first to go through and read all of them, or do you just kind of get them, put them on the shelf, and get to them when you can?
I don't have time to read them all. If I can just, because I have 5 locations, if I can just get them all counted and sorted and all my customers, what they want. But I kind of read the synopsis of all the stories. I mean, there's a catalog that comes out once a month called Previews Comics, and I kind of just get a little gist of everything that's going on.
He's doing the cliff notes of comic books here.
Basically,
doing,
yeah. You mentioned 5 locations.
Yes.
Where did the first one start?
The first one, actually, I have my little notes here. My business kind of evolved. I started in 1992 in Clarion, and it was a standalone comic book store. I ran it throughout the 90s. By 2001, I actually opened a second store in the late 90s in Oil City. So I had like 2 stores, 8 employees, and I mean, I was doing a lot of business then, but it was like I was having more expenses than income. I mean, so I decided to close my business in 01 and just be a stay-at-home dad. And I actually ran my business in Pleasantville at my home out of my garage for several years through the early 2000s. So I kind of still kept some of my few customers, and I did some mail order. But my business kind of like took off to where it is now. It evolved starting in 09. I had been working for the Titusville School District as an aide. So I wanted to still do comic books, but still have my job too. So I decided to team up with Carpenter's Corner. And they have several different vendors there. So I did Carpenter's Corner in 09. And then I kind of progressed. Then I was there for a couple of years, and by the end of 2010, I moved to Film Fest Video. I just thought that might be more my customer base, with all the movies and the comic books. And she kind of went out of business after a year, so then I moved it to the Queen City Cafe, which I was here a few years ago with Tambra Sabatini. I was there for a year, and she went out of business, and I was kind of in limbo in 2012, and then I decided, let's go back to Clarion. So in 2013, I found a bookstore. I thought I should team up with an independent bookstore. They're kind of my customer base too. So there's a little store called Art Funkel on Main Street, and he's kind of a neat gentleman. John Miller is the owner there, and he has a lot of unique gifts and books, and I have a little section there. So I rent a little area from him, and I give him a commission of what he sells.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of like the first store.
That's your rebirth.
Yeah, that was my rebirth. Again, next year after that, 2014, I saw an article in the paper about Lee Protivnak at Never Ending Stories in Franklin, and she won Businesswoman of the Year. I thought, wow, she's a bookstore. I'm going to go talk to her. I talked to her in about like 5 minutes. We had a deal to like set up comic books in her store.
Wow.
So that was in 2015, or no, that was in 2014. Then in early 2015, I was on a roll, so I looked at Meadville, and there's a bookstore there called Tattered Corners, and that's owned by Jennifer Murphy. And I just made a deal like that with her. That she gave me an area of her store. I set up comic books. I pay her a little bit of rent and some commission for what she sells. And finally, in 2016, the beginning of this year, I've teamed up with Movie Stop in Oil City. So I have a small section of comic books there, and that gentleman's name is Chris Arduini, and here I am. Oh, I kind of skipped the most important one, the one I opened here in Titusville.
I was wondering about that.
I skipped my own. At the end of 2014, I opened my own store that I would run. I have kind of special hours because I work at the school district, so my hours are like 3:30 to 6:30 during the school year. But now that summer's out, I've kind of changed my hours. I'm out of school, so in the summer I'm open 11 until 5 during the week. I'm open until 6:30 in the evening on Friday, and I'm open 11 to 3 on Saturday.
And that is the world headquarters of
That is the
Comic Books 101.
The headquarters.
It is.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It all happens there. I get all my books there, and I subdivide them, and I'm actually the one that delivers to all the places. Like once
wow.
a week. The whole loop is about 144 miles. So
Do you do it all in one day? Or?
sometimes I do. Like last week, I did it all one day, and I leave here at 6 in the morning, and I get back to Titusville about 1:30. But I just boom, 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 put out the comic books, straighten the shelves out. There's file people that hold comic books, so I do those, and
Wow.
yeah.
Very exciting. It is 8:51. This is the Morning Drill on Stream Television and the Allegheny News Talk Sports Network.
You know, the one thing that's really neat with graphic books and graphic magazines and what have you, like you have here, is that even if you don't know the language, you can kind of follow along with the story.
Mm-hmm.
And where I'm going with this is many years ago, when I was in the Navy, I visited some bookstores in France and was attracted to the comic book department, the shelf that they had back there, and it was amazing. They had as much stuff as anyone else that I had seen. With my broken knowledge of French, I could sort of follow along a little bit, but as they got a little more complicated, it was easy to follow along with just the pictures too. And it was fun to see that comic books are popular everywhere, it seems. Do you find that? If you travel, do you look for stuff like that?
Oh, it always just jumps out at me. Like you see the colorful books, and I always do look for it.
So how do you know? I mean, how do you know what's going to be in, what's not? Is that a risk you take when you're looking to see? Okay, I'll carry this series for a little bit and see how it goes.
Yeah. It's all. I mean, again, you look at the media. Like I knew that Avengers and Iron Man is big. There's like Civil War was the name of the movie, so I kind of look and see what's going on in the media.
Your He-Man series.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I think he brought that.
I brought that
for me.
I'm here. I'm ever the salesman, and a little bird told me that Luke likes He-Man, so I just wanted to. I'm going to try to sell him this book here today.
Well, he is a He-Man, so he should get it.
He is a He-Man.
Yeah, I don't think so.
This book here collects all the. There's like mini comics back in the early '80s that were included with the action figures. Well,
Yeah.
This collects all of them in one book.
That's all of them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this is all the mini comics that were in the action figures in the '80s. So it's a must-have for any He-Man collector
Wow.
or reader.
That's
cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So Daddy has to learn how to read first.
Well, the pictures help.
pictures help.
That's the thing.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Bill. So, you look at somebody like Robert Kirkman, who does the Walking Dead series, and if you listen to his story, how he got in, he got a break because he went with a company and we're talking about the age of self-publishing and Amazon, and people who want to write books can do that a lot easier now. He found a way that he could own his work but still have it distributed. Are you finding that there's the universe of comic books has just exploded with folks who now have control of their own properties, and it's not just a Marvel or a DC?
Yes, it's true. And actually, the publisher you're talking about is called Image Comics, and they came out in the early 90s. That publisher developed because there was a lot of really big, famous artists working at Marvel, and they were dissatisfied they weren't getting paid, they thought, properly for their creations. So they created this company called Image Comics, and it's all about creator self-owning. And they've really exploded. If you come over to my store, I have a whole shelf of, it could be a future Walking Dead type of comic books.
Cool.
I actually did meet Robert Kirkman. He was like a very much unknown back like 10 years ago. You meet all these people at comic conventions. So I went to a comic convention, and my daughter and I, met him. Everybody's publishing their new book, and I saw his new comic book. It was The Walking Dead, and well, I don't know, is that going to make it or not? He was just one of many people. You never know who's going to make it. So it's kind of interesting to meet these people and then find out later that they're just super popular.
Do you find is it just when the movies or the TV shows come out that there's that interest, or when Comic-Con starts, or is it year round? Is it weekly? Are people coming in weekly saying, "Hey, when's the next
They do. There's new stuff to come out every week. I get new comics every week, so it's all good. Any kind of media or anything, it's all good.
I was amazed at the age you said about your average customer.
Oh yeah, a lot of people think comic books are kids, which they used to be in the 50s and 60s, more geared at kids. But most of my customers are age 30 and older. So I'm actually here trying to promote to the little kids. The younger kids are into the electronics and the video games, and I'm trying to promote reading through entertainment. And another point is, I'm telling you, this is the artwork. This is the summer. People are going camping. Don't take your iPads or whatnot. Take comic books. You don't need to plug in. You have books to read. I also have board games and collectible card games. Everything I really sell is non-electronic. It's old-fashioned, good entertainment. You actually maybe play a board game and actually talk to a human being. And,
wow.
Family fun.
I was going to point out I have Magic collectible card game, Yu-Gi-Oh! The kids know about, and Pokemon card games.
I'm amazed Pokemon's still so popular.
I don't know. It was just super popular in like the late 90s, and it's still going. It's still going. As well as Magic kind of started. It's a collectible card game. The idea is you get a starter set, and then you have to keep buying packs to create your own deck to battle against people.
Huh.
And I wanted to point out, I don't have room at my store much for gaming, and I might team up with the library. We're in the talks about doing gaming night at the library. But in Franklin, at the Never Ending Stories, every Friday night we do have Magic gaming from 6 to 9. Or any kind of gaming. People want to play Dungeons and Dragons or Pokemon or Hero Clicks is a tabletop game. So it's all good.
Oh, very cool. Now,
driving them to your store.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that feed into the role playing side of things? Do you carry any role playing type of books, or is that?
I do. I just got some in. I keep all the basic core set of books of Dungeons and Dragons. There's the Master's Guide, the Player's Guide, and Monster Manual, and there's all kinds of stuff in role playing. So I carry that. And if I don't have it at the store, I can order it and get it in within a week.
That's probably something else people should know. If they walk in and they're looking for something, and you don't have it, maybe you just sold out of it, you can get it for them.
Right. And I do use electronics in this computer age. I remember 20 years ago in the 90s, people would like, could I have something? And I'd write it down. And like, I have to put an order in on Monday. I'll call them up and see if they have it. Well, now I've got the computer, and I can look up right now if my distributor has it in stock, and I can order it right on the spot.
And how long does that usually take for it to get in?
A week to 10 days. And like I said, all my new comics, mostly every Wednesday I get new stuff in. So
you have that group that shows up every Wednesday?
Yeah, yeah. Well, before I get my box open.
Yeah. So listen, Joe Roddy, just give him some time. Wait till he opens.
Yep, he's right across the street from me now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I understand Tim Snyder comes to visit too.
Yeah.
All righty. Bill, good to see you this morning, and congratulations with the growth of your business. It's amazing. Do you have some other plans, or do you just sort of wait to see what happens?
I'm always moving. There's always something that's going on. I'm actually advertising at the Cranberry Movie Theater now. I did create a little 15-second commercial that shows at the beginning of movies. So it's all about, do you like superhero movies? Well, the stories continue at Comic Books 101.
Very nice. And those locations, again, include?
They include Meadville at Tattered Corners, Never Ending Stories in Franklin on Liberty Street. We're on First Street in Oil City at Movie Stop. I'm on Main Street in Clarion at Art Funkel, and here I'm on Spring Street in Titusville, my main headquarters.
All right, very nice. Bill, good to see you. Deb, good to see you this morning.
Good to see you too. Thank you for having us. This is so interesting and so unique for our town. It's great.
All right. Bill and I got to discuss He-Man now.
Okay.
Mark?
Okay.
You're going to arm wrestle now,
Yeah,
right?
I guess. Mark, what'd you learn today?
I think I like comic books more than I thought.
I think everybody sort of has that, right?
Come on down. Come on over. And a lot of times, what I do in the comic book store, sometimes people come in and they just talk to me. I'm kind of like the bartender. They just talk to me, and it's kind of cool. And it's a cool place to hang out. You can just talk to me, and then, oh, by the way, I'll buy a comic book. But usually they'll talk to me for half an hour, and we just talk about anything.
Bill, real quick, what'd you learn today?
Well, I learned today, comic books are still awesome as ever.
Deb?
I learned that The Walking Dead started as a comic book. I never knew.
I'm
going back over to his store and get some and take them home to Ron.
Have a great Thursday, everybody. We'll see you back here tomorrow for the Friday edition of the show.